So for this top 15 video, I'm going to be talking about red versus blue characters again, but this time I'm going to be handling my 15 favorite characters from Project Freelancer. Now this is of course going to be mostly the three season, maybe 2 season arc that we got of the Project Freelancer side of stuff in seasons 7, 8, and 9, 8, 9, 10, something like that. Maybe just 8 and 9. But these are all going to be characters who are agents in Project Freelancer. So the counselor and the director and whatnot, they're not going to be part of this list. It's just going to be specifically agents, and there may some stuff I say might be considered spoilers for some of the characters. I'll try not to say too much about what these characters do or what happened to them, but there might be some minor spoilers in this. I'll start off with number 15, and that is going to be Agent Illinois. Now he's number 15 on my list because we don't ever actually see this guy. You know, he seemed like he was a normal, cool dude, but we just don't ever see him. And there's only 16 freelancers that we actually meet in the show, and the other one was Utah, and Utah's like a deleted scene, so he barely even counts at all. But at number 14 is Georgia. Again, we barely see him at all. I think a couple bonus scenes towards the end credits, and then he was in an episode in season 14 when they did the anthology. He's basically just a big running joke about what happened to Georgia. So yeah, I mean, he gets a little more than Illinois, so that bumps him up a little bit. Number 13 is CT. She's not 15 on my list. I mean, I don't really like her that much, but I would say 13, this is kind of the bottom, because this is where it kind of starts counting, really. So she is at the bottom of my list. I just don't care for the character too much. It seems like her storyline is just this combination of Tex and Carolina that doesn't really work. Her becoming disenfranchised with Project Freelancer, because we have those two other characters who are also kind of going through that at the same time, so I don't really care about that much. And number 12 is South Dakota. It just doesn't really, Agent South Dakota, it just doesn't, again, it's just the same thing. Like, she doesn't seem that much different from CT, honestly. It's, I don't know, like her whole thing is just being jealous with Carolina or whatever, and there's not much to it. And then number 11, have Agent North Dakota, who, again, there's not much to his character either, honestly. He just kind of seems like a different version of York. He's just, he's a good guy, whatnot. That's about it to him. I guess he's a little higher on my list because he has that relationship with his sister, and I like him a little bit more, so he gets up a little bit there more. Number 10 is Agent Idaho. Now I had to decide which. He's one of the triplets, obviously. I had to decide which one of the triplets I liked more and less between Idaho and Iowa. I just decided on Idaho being number 10 because he's a little bit more like Caboose. He just kind of seems like the Caboose of the freelancers, the loud yelling and the weird stuff and the oxygen depravity. He seems a little less original. And then on number 9, I mentioned, is Agent Iowa. He's a little higher on my list because there's a little bit more to him. He's more of a real character, a real person, so that bumps him up on the list a little bit. Number 8 is Agent Maine. We don't get a lot of development for Agent Maine. He's more just like a victim, almost. He's a strong example or display of where Project Freelancer went wrong specifically, and he's doesn't even get any speaking lines or anything. He gets like 2 lines, I think, in one of the seasons, and that's it. It's just like silent grunts and weird growls. But he's this menacing presence, and he's cool to be this threat to the group that we get. He interacts much more with the red versus blue side of things, the Blood Gulch crew, so to speak. Number 7 is Agent York, and I have him high on the list because he is one of these people that, yes, he's a good guy. He's well developed throughout the season. What they do with him is pretty good. So, I like him. I guess that's about it. I mean, there's not really much more to say about him. There's not a lot with these freelancers that we get besides like the big 2, obviously the big 3. Number 6 is going to be Agent Texas. Now, she's honestly kind of low on my list for a main character. She is one of the main characters on the show, was a main character on the show for multiple seasons, really. She's so low on the list because, honestly, I feel like Carolina's just a better character, which is, given her storyline and how her interactions with Tex, for me to say that I just think Carolina's a better character is kind of ironic in a little way. Yeah, I think there's just a little bit more to other characters, which is why Texas is low on the list. I just like other characters a little more. There's just not enough for Texas to get her up higher on the list, so she's number 6. Number 5 is Agent Ohio. What they did with her character throughout just the 3 little episodes she was in season 14 was great. She's a very likable character, very, very relatable, very understandable, and very well developed in that short time. I think it's a very good testament to what they've been able to do on the show. That this character was so well created and developed and shown and whatnot. So it's a character I like very much, and I hope that we get to see this character again. Probably not. I feel like they're shifting away towards freelancer stuff a little bit more, besides the 2 main freelancers that have become part of the group. But yeah. Number 4 is Wyoming. He's high up on my list because of all the stuff we get from him in the Blood Gulch Chronicles side of things. Because he plays just a hilarious villain, and the character that he plays, this maniacal, mustache twirling British guy, it's just hilarious. And we see there's like the one shot of him without his helmet on, and of course he's got a big mustache. Just the character is so funny. It's a good villain. It's like a good funny villain, just like O'Malley is, and he would have been higher up on my list if we had gotten a little bit more development for him throughout the Project Freelancer story, but he is where he is. Number 3 is going to be Agent Florida, and this is the kind of spoiler. This is, of course, Blue, the original leader of Blue Team, Captain Butch Flowers, or Cappy, as he prefers to be called, and this character and his storyline is just hilarious. It's some of the best stuff when they start doing the time travel and we start seeing him, and he's just so funny. I honestly, I wanted to put him on my list of Blood Gulch crew members because he is part of Blood Gulch. He's there for a while. He's the highest ranking member in the higher than Sarge. But again, he's a little bit more silly, less realistic, so to speak. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but there's kind of 2 sides to Red versus Blue. There's the ridiculous, ludicrous, crazy side of Red versus Blue, and then there is the then there's the serious, grounded side, and those sides are kind of battling out, especially in the beginning. And it's Red versus Blue works best when it's a good balance between those two sides. And so while Florida is the more ridiculous side of things, number 2 we have Agent Carolina, who represents the more serious side of things, and she's a very good character. She's very well developed. Her story is very interesting. I like what they do with her. The stuff with Tex, the stuff with the director. No spoilers there, but everything she does is great. And again, it's that serious side of Red versus Blue. And I mentioned the mixing of the serious and the not serious, I guess would be the best way to say it. And that comes best with my number 1, which is Agent Washington. I feel like he is the perfect example of what you can get from Red versus Blue when you mix the serious and the silly. Because he has those moments. I enjoyed his character so much in season 6. He was a fresh addition to the show in season 6 because we get to see. It's so funny to get to see these characters, the Reds and the Blues, to see these characters from the point of view of an outsider. Because we've gotten used to these characters and used to their antics, and now to see it from a third-person point of view was just hilarious to me, and so funny. And it's almost fitting too, because he's kind of like he's not the best freelancer either. They kind of mention that at multiple points in the show, that he's not specifically an expert at everything. At anything actually. He's kind of average at most things. He's almost like the Red and Blue version of the freelancers, which is what makes him work. What makes him work with the Blood Gulch crew so well. And honestly, he gets a lot of story, a lot of development. You know, he has a very interesting arc. He's a villain for a little bit there, working with Maine. His interactions with Maine and his interactions with Doc are funny, and Donut kills Donut until he doesn't, and then it's never really addressed again when Donut comes back that he shot him. He shot Lopez too, but that doesn't really matter because no one really cares about Lopez. But yeah, so that was my top 15 video for my favorite Project Freelancer characters from Red vs. Blue. And I will see you guys next time.